Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Wyndham Orlando Resort and Conference Center. Today's checkout day, so that means it's time to go over this resort, go over this room, and give you a bit of a review. Before we do though, of course, we're gonna go over so much in this video. So if you have any questions along the way, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. We will be happy to answer each and every one of them. Of course, also make sure you're checking the description box. We have links down there to our room tour and our first impressions through our check-in day. So check that out if you want to know more about this hotel and our experience here. So first and foremost, we have to talk about the fact that the Wyndham Orlando Resort and Conference Center is located on 192. Now, if you know anything about this area, the area right outside Walt Disney World, you know that 192 is a tourist destination. It's a tourist hub. It's this long stretch of road that has a lot of different attractions and hotels, motels, and tourist traps and restaurants all up and down this strip, which can be great if that's the type of thing you're looking for, but it's not going to be right for everyone. And I do think it's important as we're kind of going into this discussion about this hotel and the location of this hotel to understand what being on 192 means, especially if you're going to be driving. Being in an area like 192 that is so dense with hotels and restaurants and touristy type things means that there's a ton of traffic. And so that's going to impact your travel time to get where it is you're going. For example, if you're visiting Walt Disney World, you are right next to Walt Disney World in this location, but it's going to take you a little bit longer to get there than you might think. Now, there are some other things to discuss when it comes to location, basically like the vibe of the location and what it is you are looking for in a hotel and in kind of a neighborhood when you're looking to stay somewhere off property, somewhere that isn't within the Walt Disney World gates. But we're going to get more into that some other time because it is a longer discussion and I really don't want to dominate this review talking about that. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that one. It will be coming soon. Now let's talk a little bit about the resort itself. First and foremost, I hesitate to describe this as a resort. It's not quite what you would expect out of a resort. It's more along the lines of a conference center, a big hotel that has rooms as well as a number of amenities. And there are a number of amenities here. There is a Pizza Hut, there is a Starbucks in here, and it's not just a coffee shop that serves Starbucks like you'll find at some other hotels. This is an actual Starbucks location. There's also a gift shop, there's also a small restaurant, a pool bar, and they do offer room service. So there are amenities here that you can take advantage of, and it's a good thing because being on this strip, it does get a little congested, like I said, with traffic to get where it is that you're going. So rather than having to get in your car and try and make your way to the McDonald's, which is relatively close, you don't have to brave the traffic. You can get a burger from the pool bar or the restaurant right here. Now, I will admit we did not go the route of eating here at the resort, mainly because we weren't feeling it. You know, sometimes we take the opportunity to eat at the restaurants at these hotels, these resorts, but sometimes we don't. And this was one of those times where we just didn't. Of course, generally speaking, we do find that the quality of these pool bar restaurants tends to be just okay, not really the best, but it's all about convenience when you are eating from these restaurants. So quite frankly, my opinion of the food that they're serving doesn't really matter because if you're hungry and you're just getting in, this is going to be your go-to option, and I can't blame you for that, regardless how good or mediocre even the food is. The grounds of the resort itself, not the best. They do look a little bit rough on the outside. We did notice a few things that had us feeling like it could be kept a little bit better, but that's just our opinion. I know there are a lot of people out there who don't really take that type of thing into consideration when they're choosing their resort. They're looking for a place that just has a clean and comfortable room. But you know, that is stuff that we take into consideration when we do these reviews, so we wanted to at least mention it. So we've talked all about the resort itself. Let's talk a little bit about the rooms. So like I said, and like you can see in our room tour, we have a king, so there is a king bed in here. There's really not much else though, aside from a desk, as well as some basic amenities like a refrigerator and a coffee maker. I do think that the refrigerator is great to have in this room. You know how we feel about that, and I like that it's not just a beverage cooler. It's not huge, but it will do the job. The coffee maker, not much to write home about, you know? There's really nothing to say when it comes to that. The TV is good size and there's plenty of places to store everything that you need in this room. There's also plenty of extra space. So if you have a stroller, ECV, tons of luggage, there's plenty of space to put it in this room, which I did think was great. However, this room does have some downsides that are really worth mentioning. In fact, I feel like this room is one that would like sneak up on you. You first walk in and it looks fantastic, but you start to notice things, and we definitely started to notice things in this room. While it does have a clean aesthetic and it does look pleasing to the eye, there are a lot of things about this room that just didn't sit well with us. It definitely didn't feel as clean as we would have liked to see. There was definitely dust, but you know, sometimes that happens. There was also like some grossness on the bed skirt, which also wasn't put well on the bed. I really didn't appreciate that. And the bathroom wasn't as clean as I would have liked to see it. Lots of other little things kind of stood out as well. For example, there was a screw holding the mirror over the desk onto the wall that just came loose as we kind of moved our stuff around the desk. And then there's a shim holding up the little coffee bar area, just not cut, not done appropriately, just kind of left there. So I don't like the hazard that kind of comes with that. The carpet's coming up in some areas. The lights on the bedside tables are two different colors, which I know isn't a big deal for everybody, but it was something that we noticed, and so I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. Also, the lighting in this room is pretty terrible. It's very dark in here, especially over in the front area by the door. So if you're making your coffee, you're trying to check the safe to make sure that you didn't leave any belongings behind, there is no light over there to kind of make it easy for you to see what it is you're doing. So that is definitely a downside of this room. As odd as it sounds, like if you're gonna be staying here, I feel like I wanna say like, bring a flashlight. That sounds kind of ridiculous, but I feel like I'd be using my cell phone flashlight to just navigate that area, especially during a sweep when we're about to check out, to make sure I didn't leave anything behind, you know? Comfort-wise, there was definitely enough room to move around. Even if you have mobility issues, you need a mobility aid of any kind. This room is not an accessible room, but it did still feel like you could navigate it easily enough. However, it is very loud in this room for a few different reasons. So the air conditioner is very loud, rattles quite a bit, which is something that you get from these wall-mounted units, but it's still something worth mentioning. However, the biggest downside of this room is the noise that you're getting, not only from the door to the hallway, but from the adjoining rooms. It is very loud when you have people talking in the room alongside you. And honestly, you might even be able to hear it in portions of this video. You can hear movement, you can clearly hear what people are saying. So that's a huge thumbs down for me. I don't like the lack of privacy, especially because, you know, if you can hear them, they can hear you. And I definitely take a lot of issue when you're in a situation where you wouldn't be comfortable discussing private information because someone literally could hear it on the other side of the door. I've had issues like this before over at Old Key West. It was one of the biggest thumbs down that I had for Old Key West, and this resort, it's added to the list as well. We also have to talk about the bed. This has got to be one of the least comfortable beds that I have ever had at a hotel. It's loud, so it really creaks with any movement on the bed, and it's also really easy to sink into, not in a good way. You can definitely feel the platform on certain sections of this mattress, making it incredibly uncomfortable. It's definitely not a bed I would want to be coming home to at the end of a long park day, certainly not at the end of a vacation, so there's that. Of course, there are a few other things that we could discuss, like the thermostat on the wall not working and signage on the air conditioning saying you have to use the thermostat on the wall. Like, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to this room. Some of it we pointed out in the room tour, which again, you can check out at the link in the description box. But beyond the room, there are a few other things that I want to talk a little bit about. So first and foremost, like I said at the beginning of this video, there are a lot of things to offer at this resort, and some of them I think are actually pretty cool, although I have to say we haven't tested them to be able to tell you how good or how cool they are, but they're interesting enough, and so we wanted to mention them. So there is a fitness center here, looks clean enough, looks pretty nice. It's definitely a place that you can get in a little bit of a workout without having to leave the resort, which is great because of course, where are you gonna go? You know, it's not really a great place for wandering around outside the resort itself. There's a kid zone, which had an arcade, and this really cool jungle gym area, which I thought was fantastic. The bar was also pretty nice. It's just in the lobby, so it's nothing too special, too fancy, but it's a nice place to go grab a drink. And there is so much seating for the Pizza Hut and Starbucks area, so you definitely have a place to go outside your room and eat and whatnot. Also, speaking of that, there is no microwave in this room, so I know some of you are always wondering if there is. There isn't, and we didn't see one out in the lobby area either. So just something to note. We might have missed it, but I did want to add that for those of you who ask that question. But of course, there are some other downsides that we want to mention too for this resort. So like I mentioned in our check-in video, they do have a virtual assistant kind of virtual check-in situation. So you don't have to go to the desk and talk to a real person. You can go to a kiosk and talk to a real person via a video call. I did this because I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on it. I thought it was terrible. While I see where they're going with it, it was the same as going to the desk, only it was hard to hear the person that I was trying to talk to. And I didn't get the information that I needed. Of course, when you're checking into a hotel, there's a lot of stuff that you need to know. Information about checkout, information about shuttles. We'll get to that here in a second. But you just didn't get any of that when you were checking in. So that was rough. I didn't really like that process. Certainly not as much as I would like just checking in with someone who's actually there with me at the time. But of course, that wasn't the only virtual assistant, virtual anything that is available at this resort. There's also a virtual assistant that you get when you call the front desk, which we had a horrible experience with, if we're being completely honest. Once we checked in and realized that we didn't have the information that we needed, we did call down to the front desk, which is something that you do when you go to a resort. Sometimes you have a question, you want to call to the front desk, and it was just a lot of waiting because of this quote unquote virtual assistant. Russ was on hold waiting for a representative for over 5 minutes, and he ended up just hanging up and walking down to the front desk to get the answers that he was looking for. So very disappointed with that. It seems like a theme with this hotel though, like things are kind of dolled up to make them look better than they actually are, but they're not actually performing at the level that they're giving the illusion they're performing at. Now, last but not least, we have to talk about something that you guys are always asking about, and that is transportation to the Walt Disney World theme parks and other theme parks in the area. So this includes Universal and SeaWorld from this hotel. Now they do offer a shuttle from this hotel to Universal, Walt Disney World, and so on. I will put information about that up here so that you can take a closer look. Now, as you look, you will see that there is a departure time and then a pickup time. There are only 2 times available. So the way that the shuttle works at this hotel is that they will pick you up here and bring you to wherever it is that you are going, and then that's it. You don't have any ride back until they pick up at the end of the night and bring you back to the hotel. Now this might work just fine for some people, especially for those of you who are planning to, well, I can't quite say rope drop to fireworks because that's not really an available option with the times that they have available. But if you're planning on being at the park all day long, then this might be an option for you if you don't plan on driving yourself. However, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, these times are not great. Having a bus pick you up at 10:30 to get to a park that opens at 9, that's not counting travel time or the time it's going to take you to actually get into the park. That means you have a lot less park time if you're going to take this shuttle. So for me, I think it would be a better choice to actually drive or take an Uber or a Lyft to get to the park and take advantage of rope drop. Get there early. Now, of course, you don't have early entry or any other benefits at Walt Disney World by staying at this hotel, but you can still get a leg up on the day by arriving early, and taking the shuttle is not going to help you do that. So we've covered just about everything that there is to cover about this resort in terms of the grounds, in terms of the room, and some of the amenities. But of course, we want to hear from you. If you've ever stayed at the Wyndham Orlando Resort and Conference Center, we want to know about it. Tell us in the comments down below. Did you have a good experience? Was it a negative experience? Tell us some of your thoughts. Quite frankly, we have some mixed feelings on this. While this resort does have some great qualities and there are some things that aren't the best, but certainly aren't bad about the Wyndham Orlando Resort and Conference Center, it's definitely not a place that I think we would recommend or even stay again. The location is rough. Getting out of the parking lot and across traffic is rough. And that means a lot of added stress before you've even started your day. So that's not really something that we're going for. It certainly doesn't help you have a less stressful vacation. Of course, it is very loud here. It's not as clean as we would like it to be. And that's not really great either, though the price is enticing. In fact, we spent just over $100 a night for this stay. So there's a lot to think about and a lot to weigh when it comes to staying here. Of course, like I said, we want to know your thoughts. So tell us in the comments down below. Hit that like button if you liked this video. Check the description so that you can see a room tour and see everything that this room has to offer. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss anything that we talk about here on the channel. We do have a lot of additional conversations to have about this resort, and we would love to have them with you. So comment, like, and subscribe so that you're part of that conversation. But that's all for now. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.